emergency. Paging Dr. B. Doctor, give me the news.
Welcome to A Third Opinion with Paul Rodgers and Bob Weldon. Here's the truth about the latest wellness findings in medical news, options and protocols you might not know about. These guys lay it out for you. Straightforward information, important to you. And you can always be a part of the show. Call now, 407-774-8255. 407-774-TALK. It's time to get a third opinion on News Talk 660 WORL. Here's Paul and Bob.
Yes, and welcome back to A Third Opinion. Statements made on our program have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. We are the open radio forum that benefits everybody who's searching for information about other treatment options that may be available, that are available, as a matter of fact, as we fight against the diseases and maladies that affect us. But a lot of this information is being withheld from you, my dear friends. Fact. You're not going to like that very much as you listen to the program, but you'll learn from it. Bob, here we go. More about Dr. Zelner's wonderful program and obesity in the United States of America, how it affects our health, etc.
Yeah, this is such an important topic, and I hope our listening audience really pays attention to this next hour, because we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of how this works. And I want to mention, before we bring Dr. Zelner back on, our next class on our program, called Get Slim with ZIIM, is on February 23rd at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a Saturday. The class is free. It's an introductory class. We go through the program, the soup to nuts version of what this is all about. But you're going to learn a lot on this program, sort of the same things you're going to learn in a condensed version at the class. So we encourage you to call up at 407-345-5055, extension 232, and get yourself a seat in that program for February 23rd. And if you enroll in that program, because you heard it on the radio, we're going to give you 10% off if you decide to enroll in the program. So, commercial out of the way.
And
let's get Dr. Zelner.
And the soup to nuts all come from health food stores.
That's a good point.
So they don't have all the stuff in them.
Dr. Zelner, let's get into why you decided to use HCG. You know, we know this is somewhat of a controversial, and, you know, Paul and I like to kind of shake it up a little bit around here. Why you decided as a physician to use HCG. There is so much controversy. You know, if you go to the Internet, you can hear the pros and the cons of what's going on with this hormone. And your experience thus far with all these supposed side effects. Now, we know Dr. Oz has done a series, really, with professionals. You know, he first came out, was very negative about it, and then he's educated himself, like we encourage many physicians to do, on this program, and now he's pro, as long as it's medically supervised. I think that's the key our listening audience wants to hear, by an MD who knows what they're doing. So why did you choose to use this? I know we looked at a lot of programs prior to engaging in this one, but why did you personally make that decision?
Yes, again, I've been studying metabolism for years and looked at many diet programs and just kept resisting bringing one into the office because until, again, I did the HCG and, of course, did it myself, went to the certification program, studied it. We had a small pilot study in our office, and from there on, you can't. It's excellent. It's so excellent. I don't think I'll ever stop doing it.
And I want to just let me just interrupt you a second there, Doc, if I may. I think this is so key, and I really talk to our patients about this as well. And our listening audience needs to know you yourself and your family. Yes. You've gone through the program yourself. It's not like you're just prescribing something or offering something. And I have to say to our audience, working with you almost 3 years, that Dr. Zelner is a product of the product of whatever she's promoting in her practice. We don't put anything into practice that she has personally not experienced or researched and vetted.
I promised myself, Bob, I will not ask anybody to do something in my practice that I cannot do myself. And
that's
I just
great.
promised myself that because I have to be able to live it. And, of course, I want to be as healthy. And how can I be a productive citizen without having good health? So it starts there.
Well, it must be working because, and this is it's a make you smile sort of comment, but I mean it sincerely. You look marvelous.
And you've had several children too. We might point out.
She's a mom.
I have 5 children.
I didn't want to give the number.
Who's been on? No, I'm happy to share information. But my husband's been on the HCG diet. In fact, he got off so many medications on that. He's had wonderful results. And it's been true with our patients too that. Patients come to me because they are on a lot of medications and they want to work on their health. Just basically, they ask me, I'd like to get off these. I just don't feel they're good for me. I mean, I think people understand that what they're doing and what they're following, these regimens, really aren't that good for them, and they want to get healthy. So one of the first things is I've got to lose weight, and so they come around and, I want to lose the weight. Well, it's a process, Bob. We work with these people over a very long period of time. We can't do it all in 30 days. It's a process. The first thing we do is we do a full health assessment, and we, again, go over all the current medications. We do a physical examination. We see what your risk factors are, and there are people we turn away who are not healthy enough or have contraindications. And again,
and therein lies, Dr. Zelner, you have just described a 180-degree difference between what you do and what so many of these other things that we hear about do. And it's so important.
But isn't that what we're talking about? It's not just a diet. We are trying to help people with their overall health, and one aspect of that is losing the weight, which is a huge boost to their health because as we talked about, the first thing we do is identify metabolic disorders, too. Unless we know, and not everybody is the same, we all have different problems with our metabolism. We may have slow metabolism, but for different reasons. And we have to get to the nitty-gritty of hormone imbalances, what's going on a cellular basis, what's going on genetically, because we are different, we are predisposed because of our family history of different disease processes, what's going on. A lot of people have insulin resistance. That's probably caused by the years and years of eating bad food. But on the other hand, this is also handed down generation to generation. So what we are doing to our health in our lifetime is affecting our grandchildren.
So each person that joins your program, Dr. Zelner, has in effect received from you a custom-made recommendation for that person only, based on their hormonal makeup, based on their metabolism, based on all of the pre-programmed study that you have done. When you give them this recommendation, it's specifically tailor-made, in effect, for that person.
That's correct.
Wow.
And we identify whether they are dealing with high toxic exposure or no toxic exposure. I mean, some people don't have toxic exposure, and some of us are very high in toxic exposure, which is another part of the program. We have to clean up the body prior to the initiation of a weight loss program.
So no cookie-cutter stuff at the Zelner Institute, or when you're doing it. I can speak to this from personal experience because I do go to see Dr. Zelner for some medical issues, and it's been wonderful. It's been very, very helpful. But there's no cookie.
Unique.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
There's no cookie-cutter stuff there, and that's important. That's important. You're not just, you, our listeners, someone that's interested in learning about this or doing this, aren't just walking in off the street and somebody says, oh, yeah, here, do this, do that, have a nice day.
And dispensing a hormone is not all we do, of course, even though it's a controlled substance, because it is a program that we have put together, Dr. Zelner has put together, really, with a lot of thought. And we're going to talk, as we go through this program, a little bit more of the details. People hear about 500 calories. Well, I know Dr. Zelner will agree with this. We would never put anybody on a 500-calorie starvation diet without the hormone, nor would we do the hormone without the 500 calories. So it's a program that incorporates several factors, because 500 calories, Doc, you would agree, is extremely unhealthy.
Yes, but with the hormone program, it works because you are mobilizing fat cells. With the hormone, you are releasing approximately 2,500 kilocalories per day. Well, that's a lot amount of food. That's as if you're eating, but you're not. You're not eating. Your fat cells are contributing that caloric energy for your body to use, so you aren't hungry. And that's why it is muscle sparing. Because if you starved yourself, you'll break down some fat, but then you start breaking protein down, and that's yo-yo dieting, and that's very unhealthy. But what we see in the HCG is muscle sparing. And again, we'd love to do more studies into this area because we have this big DEXA scan machine in our office, and we're able to measure muscle mass in somebody and fat. And we can say what proportion of your body is fat versus muscle and exactly where that is in the body. Let's say the most fat you have is right around your middle. And we can measure that, and then we can see changes in that, which we have done. And we have seen that people increase their muscle mass as they are losing fat. And that's one of the beauties of HCG.
And that's a really unique factor, too, because most weight loss programs, particularly low-calorie diets, high-protein, low-calorie diets, no-carb diets, you do lose some lean muscle mass, and people look like they've lost major weight, but it's the wrong weight. It's the wrong kind of weight.
The logic of your program, Dr. Zelner, is this. The program incorporates several factors because there are several factors involved in getting you where you got. It's not just one thing. It's a variety of factors that are involved, and you have broken this down into a place where you are considering all of these factors as they apply to each person individually.
It's a holistic approach, as people like to use the term. It's the whole body. It's the whole person, their lifestyle, and things that they're doing, even medications they're on. And, of course, Dr. Zelner is an expert in hormone balancing, bioidentical hormone balancing. So when we come back from this break, let's talk about fat cells and the endocrine system, how fat cells excrete hormones that will prevent people from losing weight, Doctor. We want to focus on, of course, HCG, how it works in releasing stored body fat, and also leptin and adiponectin, maybe two hormones people are not real familiar with, and how this program affects those in a positive way, and a great program for people's health. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to A Third Opinion, WORL 660 AM.
Welcome back to A Third Opinion, a program to which you are listening and which provides you with information about the many complementary protocols available to doctors today. It's a forum to discuss that information with our panel of medical professionals. And today, our medical professional is the sensational Dr. Catherine Zelner, whom we are pleased as punch to have on our show. If you'd like to talk with Dr. Zelner, 407-774-8255 is the number, 407-774-8255. I'm Paul Rodgers. My co-host is Bob Weldon, a certified nutritional consultant. Bob, take it away.
Well, Dr. Zelner, let's get into exactly how HCG, which everybody I think that looks at weight loss has either read about, seen on TV, hear on radio programs. Let's talk about why this is such an important hormone in the weight loss arena and why it works so well. Maybe you could just address how it works on the hypothalamus and lowering some of these other, or balancing our hormones when you lose the weight.
Okay, well, we do know, again, that HCG works on the level of the brain, the hypothalamus, and we don't know exactly how it works, Bob. That's a whole problem, okay? But we do, again, we use it to improve fertility, to improve our ovarian or testicular hormones. These are our sex hormones. We do know that it reboots our metabolism because the hypothalamus secretes hormones that stimulate the pituitary, and the pituitary hormones regulate metabolism. They regulate the thyroid, the adrenals, okay, and the ovaries, and that's our entire endocrine system. And so something gets rebooted, something that perhaps, again, needs rebooted, okay, and what happens is it seems, again, that our metabolism picks up. Now, what we, again, see happening is that just like when human chorionic gonadotropin increases in a pregnant woman, it facilitates energy, release of energy that goes to the baby. Well, this is happening somehow in the body also, that the fat cells are releasing all this energy that's going, and then when we combine that with this low-calorie no carb. It's really an absence of starches and carbohydrates, which require certain hormone regulation like insulin, adiponectin, leptin. So we're actually bypassing this whole system of storage, energy going into storage units. So here we have a human chorionic gonadotropin, a hormone, that's helping release energy from fat cells. Then we're actually eliminating the arm of our metabolism that puts that energy back into storage. So we're using that up, and we're getting rid of fat cells.
And thus we're lowering fat cells, which will lower hormones that are out of whack, like you mentioned, leptin and adiponectin. When those are excreted by the fat cell, the adipocytes, and when you start burning off this excess abnormal body fat, it just stands to reason you have less of those hormones in the body, and thus the hypothalamus, as you mentioned, gets rebooted or reset to where it's supposed to be. And then in our program, I want to point out, this is where the real, I think, the linchpin is that we're able to get that weight locked in. If you've lost 20 pounds in 40 days or 25 pounds in 40 days, well, that's not the end of the program. We have, as our listening audience should know, about a 5-week maintenance or transition program that's where we spend the time to really lock in the weight that you have already lost so that you don't regain that. And that's, we use the analogy, of course, rebooting a computer that's locked up. You reset the computer, come back, and it's like a brand new computer, and the hypothalamus is being reset in this regard. So when these hormones are lowered and balanced, as you're an expert at doing, of course, because you do bioidentical hormone replacement therapies in your practice, and you are an expert in the field, this is why you chose this program. And I might add, the concern that we often hear in the negative side of the field is that there's side effects from that. What is your experience in the practice clinically in almost 3 years of doing this program?
In 3 years, I think I've encountered one case of gout, okay, which is a complication. If someone is prone to gout, you'll see that it can flare up, okay, and there's a reason for that. And we just, again, treat with allopurinol and protect the person from getting release of uric acid into the body, so they don't have that gout experience, that episode of gout. So these are that. I saw one case of gout.
And I think some of the minor things that we see, maybe you don't even see them. I generally see them. And some headaches or a little fatigue sometimes because the liver is working extremely hard in burning the fat cells, of course, putting it back out for energy.
That's very good because that's one reason why we like to do a very good detox program ahead of time so we don't run into so many. So we may not be seeing as many complications as we are reading in the research and the books about HCG because we're preparing our patients, we are balancing hormones, we are detoxifying, we're talking and educating them about nutrition way ahead of starting the HCG. And I think that's why we're seeing fewer complications that are actually reported.
And once again, for our listeners' benefit, and by the way, you can call us at 407-774-8255 if you'd like to speak with Dr. Zelner. Once again, the result of all this very thorough preliminary work that you will find, I say to our listeners, at the Zelner Institute, is a program that's designed specifically for each individual. I think it's very, very important that our listeners know that. This is not cookie-cutter stuff, and the preliminary work is thorough, and the result, it will be for you and you alone. And it is medically supervised, obviously. This is a program that we don't just enroll someone. Dr. Zelner pays close attention to each patient, although you don't see Dr. Zelner each week, but you do come in our program. You come in once a week. We do weigh-ins. We do coaching. Accountability, of course, is so critical, and any major weight loss program has an accountability factor. We find that's very good for compliance. And if there are issues, because you are supervising the program, or one of our nurse practitioners is supervising the program, I might add too, is that we catch things early. And this is, I think, Dr. Zelner touched on this, why we have a really high success rate, a very high success rate. You know, weight loss industry is a numbers game for a lot of companies. If they can have 40 or 50% success, some kind of success rate, well, that's a multi-million-dollar industry for them.
But we're looking at it, I think Dr. Zelner, speaking for Dr. Zelner, and she can add into this, is you're looking more at your patients, at their overall health, not just we want to have a weight loss program. Would that be fair to say?
Yes. We have found that weight loss is a part of a health program, and so it's one of the parts of our overall health program. When we have lots of things that we want to teach you and get changes in your life, and it becomes a life-changing event. It's not just weight loss; it's a life-changing event because it improves your health and your family's health, and that's really what we're all about.
That's what I was just going to say. The entire reason for us talking about this for the last 90 minutes, and we will do so for another little while until about noon, the entire reason is to address the topic of a person's overall better health. It's no more complicated than that. Now, there's lots of complicated stuff that goes into it, but that's Dr. Zelner and that's Bob Weldon's job to handle all that and get it all arranged. And again, at the Zelner Institute, the result of all this very, very thorough preliminary work is a program designed specifically for each individual. I think that's absolutely sensational.
And that's why we have Bob here, because, he's a holistic nutritionist who understands, again, all the ins and outs of nutrition, the biochemistry of nutrition, the entire spectrum of foods and related to industrial pollutants, and he's there available to all of our patients 6 days a week. Not 7 days a week, but 6 days a week. He's there.
Thanks for the day off.
For 1 day off. And he's available by
Sounds
phone,
like radio.
by email, by text, yes, to, again, provide that daily coaching as needed. And we also have other support staff with our HCG program to provide the daily support, weekly support. And the complicated, we do have some very ill patients.
We're coming up on a break.
Medications.
We're coming up on a hard break, Dr. Zelner. We will be back after the news. Don't go away. Yes, and welcome back to A Third Opinion. I'm Paul Rodgers. My co-host is Bob Weldon, and our medical panelist today is the sensational Dr. Catherine Zelner, and I'm not kidding. She is an absolutely wonderful doctor, a great person, and she will look you in the eye and tell you the truth. And that's what you need from your physician. She's an integrative physician whose specialty is gynecology, and we're delighted to have her on the program today. Bob, set the table here.
Well, we were talking about weight loss, of course, and we've been talking about the use of the hormone HCG, which we'll agree has been a controversial topic. Dr. Zelner, I think at the top of our last hour, mentioned that this has been around since, the 50s when Dr. Simeons, of course, it's been around our bodies forever, but Dr. Simeons really discovered how to use this hormone in obese adolescent boys to lose weight, and thus sprung this program that we're using. His book, you can find it on the internet, called Pounds and Inches. And it's a really interesting program. We haven't tweaked it too much. It's been a very good, successful program. And we invite people who are listening, if you're interested in this, come to the class on February 23rd. Give us a call.
It's free.
It's free. It's an introductory class. In fact, it's sort of it's a mandatory class if you're going to enroll in our program, because we want you to be educated. Dr. Zelner is very big on that.
If you come to the class, you don't have to enroll in the program.
You don't have to do anything.
But
it's
if you want to enroll in the program, you must attend this class as a setup.
If you want to participate in our weight loss program.
I just need to clear that up.
That's good. I'm glad you cleared it up, because really...
I'm a bit of a stickler.
And this really goes at the expense of for Dr. Zelner in the practice, because really her first and foremost thing is to have a well-educated patient, and we do that with just about everything we do there integratively.
May I interject something there,
Sure.
Bob? Because you're so right. My father, and we keep saying this, I refer to my dad a lot. To me, he was a great man. He was an unknown great man to me, but he was incredible. He told me many, many times, son, let me say something to you. When you grow up, if you have medical problems, you have to realize that when you go and see your doctor, you are forming a team. But in that moment, the doctor's the coach. As soon as the prescribed course of action becomes evident and you elect to go down that road, you become the coach and the doctor becomes one of the players, because a lot of this is up to you to step up and take action, learn about what you're doing, learn about why, and not that you're trying to be the doctor, but you have to know the whys of all this so you can take care of your side of the business, which after the fact, after the prescribed diagnosis and course of action is laid out, it's up to you.
That's right.
He was right.
Beautifully put.
Well, I love that story.
Isn't that nice?
I've heard that before. I love that story.
And that's really how Dr. Zelner practices medicine. It's a team effort, and even on the weight loss, I think Dr. Zelner will agree. In our Get Slim with ZIIM program, a lot of this, Dr. Zelner gives you the tools, medically clears you, monitors your health, and it's really almost all up to the patient, right, Doc, to put those tools into play.
Of course it is. I was before the break, I started to mention we do have some patients on multiple medications and with diabetes, on insulin. We have hypertensive medicines. These people, of course, I see on a more regular basis throughout the weight loss program. And there's a little more coaching to do with this. And we have to actually change medicines because that's what we're doing. Even week by week, we have to change some medicines because the weight loss is so dramatic and some of the changes in the body are so dramatic that we have to be right on top of things, especially on sugar control, blood pressure, and heart.
And when you're talking about change medications, we're actually talking about reducing and eliminating, correct?
Exactly.
Right.
Especially those that have sugar problems. We have to almost sometimes every few days have to change insulin dosages, okay? So, yes, we do that on a regular basis with those patients who need that. But we do see decreasing medication.
So this is a program that is medically supervised. We want to really emphasize that to our listeners because you can find weight loss programs. They're everywhere. Walmart. Health food stores have them. Your next door neighbor has a weight loss program. But the key to do healthy weight loss, and remind our audience too, you cannot purchase legally HCG from anybody other than a prescriber. That would be a nurse practitioner or an MD or a DO to prescribe this medication. And it's not just a matter, we've been expressing this or emphasizing this through the whole program, it's not a matter of just getting the hormone, take the hormone, let me eat 500 calories or 800 calories, whatever the program is, and I'm going to lose weight. This is something that we don't want you to make, at least I know Dr. Zellner's philosophy is, this is not a lifestyle, this is a reset, a reboot, and then from there, as you heard our caller earlier in the program talk about keeping the weight off, lifestyle changes. Would you agree with that, Doc?
Exactly. The lifestyle changes that incorporate what you learn in the diet and incorporate, these new lifestyle changes. That's why we say it's a life-changing event, this weight loss, because a lot of your habits will change as well. And they will change, of course, for the better to promote and maintain this health.
From our caller, from recalling what Stephanie called in the last hour was saying, it sounds to me as though she felt, and I can't put words in her mouth, but it sounds to me as though she believes that following the setup and the readjustment of the condition of her body, hormonal, etc., that the lifestyle changes were made a little bit easier.
Because you feel better. Paul, you start feeling better, you have better energy, you're sleeping better, your motivation increases. It's almost instinctual. You're going to do what makes you feel better. And we're just so, I think, entrenched in bad habits and this food that, again, seems to have these addicting qualities. And I think a lot of even the mental disorders in our society right now are caused by food. And I can give you a great story about this Wisconsin public school that took out all the vending machines and all the junk food out, and they completely let go of their sheriff's department in the high school for truancy, because as the kids started eating better, the behavioral problems completely disappeared in the high school.
Wow. And the motivation to go to school obviously increased.
And the motivation, and just when you feel good and you're sleeping better, you're not cranky anymore, relationships get better, your brain starts working better, you can function better in school, you get better grades, you're feeling better about yourself. This is the same thing with weight loss. How many people get so depressed? I've been on number 5 diet. I can't lose.
Right.
I'm just a failure because
point.
I can't lose the weight.
Dr. Zelner, that's my point. That's my point. All of I'd like to lose some weight, but it's not. It's hard. There needs to be a way for me to make it easier. That's a mental situation. That's in your head. That's okay. It's in your head. It's just going to be hard. However, the course of action that you are prescribing is one in which you begin to feel better prior to or immediately beginning with the moment you embark on the program. And it makes it seem to you, a person, that this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, and it gives you courage.
But, Paul, it is all in your head. That's the whole point. And that's why we like HCG, because it's targeting the changes at the brain level. And I think there's something to say about that. Perhaps we don't understand it completely, but it is all in our heads.
And plus, too, the fact that it's relatively safe, it's rapid but safe weight loss, the compliance factor we find goes way up. Some of these programs that are out there that you see on TV with the movie stars, these are months and months and months to lose a few pounds in most cases, and you're eating somebody else's food, and some of those can be quite expensive. And I know you'll agree, we've had many patients in there, they've been through those programs, and very frustrating because they only lose a few pounds, and then when they quit eating the foods or the program, they blow back up again.
Or they lose a lot of weight, and when they quit eating the food. Here's the deal. A lot of this weight loss stuff, bologna isn't, what bologna is in the real world. Bologna is a processed meat product, right? Lots of sodium and stuff in it, and it tastes good on a sandwich with some mustard. And it's also probably not as good for you as maybe some other kinds of foods you could eat. So many of the weight loss programs you hear about are baloney. They're baloney. They don't include baloney, but they are baloney. It's a bunch of baloney.
And what was that point, Doc? We looked at them, right?
We looked at them. We had to reject all of them because in the food substances, there were substances that we couldn't justify in our diets. I mean, we can't philosophically give our patients something that's got an additive in it or a sugar substitute in it. We can't do that.
How about all the preservatives and stuff that are in foods? I mean, foods that are good, foods that are thought to be good for you.
Oh, let's
preservatives.
Touch on, yes.
Oh.
Well, talk about sugar substitutes. Bob, this is a big thing. I mean, we are telling, we, meaning the medical community, even my pediatricians are giving children sugar-free gum. We think that the way to lose weight is to eat sugar-free this, sugar-free that, light this, light that. And to make it light, they put sugar substitutes in it. And these are things like sucralose, right? And these are chemical structures that represent to our body a sugar. And in fact, it's 14 times more potent than regular table sugar.
What is the one that has DDT type DDT type ingredients in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it resembles a toxin, a pesticide. So we have
which is outlawed,
these chemicals in our foods, and what happens on a cellular level is that they actually incite more insulin release and all those hormones we talked about that spur on high cortisol, high triglycerides, all these stress hormones in our body and stress. So it increases stress in our body.
And it's all approved.
And it worsens diabetes.
Or it's either ignored or approved
by the FDA.
By whatever federal government authorities are involved. I'm not going to cite anybody out. Which leads me to our listeners, if you have a pencil or a pen will do. Pencil will do. If your window's fogged up, you can write it on the inside of the window. There's a movie y'all need to see. You go to lef.org, LEF. That's Larry Edward Frank.org. And when you get to the homepage, you scroll down a little bit and you'll see a column that's headed with the words Consumer Reports, I think it says. The word consumer is there. The first item under that is called New Documentary. The documentary is called War on Health. Click that. Give yourself a quiet place to go and 57 minutes to watch this, and if your hair doesn't get on fire, I would be very surprised.
It's an eye opener.
I watched this last night, and I wish I had a fire extinguisher next to me. and I don't have a lot of hair to get on fire, but I am telling you, this was one of the most revealing. I'm not trying to get Dr. Zelner into that mode necessarily, and we have a break here in a few seconds, but lef.org. Okay? Laverne Edna Francis.
Or Life Extension Foundation.
.org, LEF.org. Scroll down the page to a column that's headed with the words Consumer Reports, and then click War on Health, which is a new documentary, and you will be way more educated than before you saw this film. We're coming up on a break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with A Third Opinion. Welcome back to A Third Opinion. I'm Paul Rodgers. My broadcast co-host is Bob Weldon. We're here every Saturday morning from 10 to noon on 660 WORL. We're very busy trying to inform our listeners about the alternatives, don't like that word quite as much as I like complementary, procedures and protocols that are available in the offices of many of the integrative doctors that you will find in the Orlando metropolitan area, and indeed in areas all over the country, because we are heard online. And I know specifically that there's some folks that are out of this area that do listen to us at 660WORL.com. So we're here to talk about those things and to bring the information to folks, because to our dear listeners and our respected listeners and people to whom we thank for listening to our show, I say, there's a wide, huge body of stuff that for some strange reason you're just not allowed to know about. And that's absolutely un-American. Bob?
And we're going to try to uncover all that for everybody on the future shows that we have coming up. Dr. Zelner, just to wrap up this last little segment we have with you, and we certainly appreciate you taking time today. I know you're kind of doing a little R&R, and this really shows your passion for what you do by taking time to come on for these 2 hours. And just would it be helpful if insurance companies for medical practitioners covered some of these things that we're talking about, particularly when we're talking about weight loss? I know that insurance does not play a role. People who have insurance, they always ask us, is this covered under my insurance? Would you like to see that available? Kind of a rhetorical, loaded question. Loaded question there.
Oh, would I?
That'll make your job a lot easier, wouldn't it?
It would, because I feel like we're always playing a game with our insurance companies right now. Here I'm trying to provide what my patients do need, and their insurances are not covering it. And what could be more basic than education and counseling in nutrition and weight loss for our patients with these multitude of chronic illnesses that are all obesity related? All of them are.
And wouldn't it make sense? I mean, I know we say this, and it doesn't really, I think, translate, because most people don't really understand how their insurance programs work, their policies work. Wouldn't it make more sense for the insurance companies to do a little more preventative care and to pay for that? And particularly when it comes to obesity, we hear all these negative things about the rise of obesity and, of course, all the things that happen. But wouldn't it make more sense to have a preventative program, particularly when it comes to a weight loss program, where it's partially covered or all covered by their insurance?
Can we speak? Yeah, right?
Yes.
What could be more obvious I hope every listener out there, what could be more obvious than that our insurance would pay for these types of health care visits? Now, granted, we have codes for them. I have codes. I can send you 5 codes for obesity and weight loss and counseling and nutrition, but I don't get paid for them.
Right.
Okay? So I can send to the insurance company a visit of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever I spend, and I can have these very descriptive codes, but I do not get paid.
Dr. Zelner, we have a caller, but before we run out of time, Betty, you have a question for the doctor.
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Zelner.
Good morning,
Betty. I've never called into a radio show before. I'm nervous.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Betty, it's okay. We're kind and nice, and thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Welcome. I listened to you talk about all these weight loss programs. I have just the opposite problem. I'm losing weight and don't know why.
Okay. Have you seen anybody for this?
Yes. And this has been going on for years. And it seems to go in spells. And right now, last year, May, I was about 150 pounds, which is my ideal weight. Mm-hmm. And I'm down now, shockingly, to 109. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just can't seem to understand, or anybody to help me to understand why. Mm-hmm. I have seen different doctors, and they usually don't want to address it. They just say, "Oh, you look good," but it's not good. And the other shocking thing is that I just did an endoscopy and a colonoscopy, blood work for my thyroid, and CT scan and an MRI, and everything came out perfect. One thing you should know is that I try to eat very well, healthy, watch what I eat, and I try to do different things that would help my health. But this weight loss thing is driving me crazy, and it's a vain thing for women, and I just don't like how I look. I hate to see myself in the mirror, the truth be told.
Dr. Zelner, would you like to address that, please?
Let me address that, because there may be, again, you've had a lot of testing done. You've had a lot of, again, people looking for causes. But we haven't had anybody do any functional studies for you. And, again, looking at, your cellular metabolism and if there's any problems there. Even with a traditional colonoscopy, we can miss functional bowel issues. And there may be, again, something there that is being missed. So that would be my first inclination, is to get everything that has been done, evaluate that, and see where you can go from there. Because my guess is there's got to be a reason. And we just haven't seen it yet. We just don't know what it is yet, but there has to be a reason that you're losing weight.
And Betty, we thank you for the call. We're almost out of time. And if you would, Betty, just give us a call at the office. We'd like to maybe have you come in and talk further with the doctor. You can certainly call us at 407-345-5055, and my extension is 232, and I'll set that up for you. And thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate it. We're almost out of time.
Give that number again, Bob.
It's 407-345-5055, extension 232, Dr. Catherine Zelner.
Thank you.
And Dr. Zelner, we thank you so much for being on. We're going to wrap up the program. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll see you next week. It's been very informative. We appreciate your expertise and your time and support of this program that we're really trying to get going here in Orlando. We're going to have more practitioners on in the future that are colleagues of yours that have the same philosophy that you have. And we might mention, too, we use Pharmacy Specialist as our compounding pharmacy that produces our hormones that we use on our patients in our program. Now, they're PCAB certified. If you heard a couple of shows prior, we've had them on, and we're going to have them on again in March the 2nd to go through what a compounding pharmacy is. And I think, Paul, we have a program coming up next week. And Dr. Zelner, have a great weekend.
Yep, thank you, Doctor. We'll see you soon. Yep.
Okay, good talking with you.
She's absolutely she's so incredible. It's such an honor to have someone of that.
Well, I get to work with every day. I learn something new every day.
With that education and that the breadth of her education is so wonderful. Well, as I said a little earlier, and we say it quite a lot, our program is called A Third Opinion. We'd be grateful if you'd tell your friends about us. You can hear us at 660 AM WORL right there on your radiator, which on your radio. And we're found online at 660WORL.com. And we're here every Saturday from 10 to noon. We want you to be informed about your options. That's the basis that's the rationale for our program. And there are many of these options that we're going to talk about over the weeks that come that you don't know about because you're intentionally not being told. And we could go a lot of places, and we intend to with this. As a starter, I'd highly recommend that you go online to lef.org. Life Extension Foundation is the name of the organization, lef.org. On their homepage, scroll down just a little bit, and you'll see a couple of columns below the first text, and there's one that's headed with the words Consumer Alerts. Consumer Alerts is the word. And under that is a little section called New Documentary, War on Health. Stand by with a large pitcher of water or a fire extinguisher because you are going to get hopping mad when you see this.
I think we're going to be talking about this next week, right?
We are, and I'm going to try in my very best to get some guests on the program who are in one way or another involved with this film. I don't know how successful I'll be, but Monday morning I'm going to go on a quest. This is information that you need to know about, folks. You really, really do. You'll be disappointed. You'll be upset. You'll be enraged. And then you'll want to join us on the program every week and maybe throw in with us and call us on the phone and do other stuff. But I prompt you and I ask you to go to lef.org, column headed by Consumer Alerts, and click New Documentary, War on Health. And by all means, join Bob and I next Saturday morning at 10 o'clock here on 660 WORL for A Third Opinion.
See you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.